Hi everybody, this is Bastiaan, and today we're going to take a look at the match I played against Chessmaster. So we're going to analyze the system that was used and take a look at a few of the tactics and traps that are in that system. So game starts with d4, f6, f3, d5, e3, e6, bishop d3, so you're seeing the development of the goal system. Bishop to d6, castle, castle, c3, c5, knight to d2, and knight to c6. So this is all standard development. Pawn takes pawn, bishop takes, and normally the goal system continues with either queen to e2 or pawn to e4 to force a pawn break, protected by the bishop and the knight. But the Phoenix variation continues with b4 instead. It's much more aggressive. Bishop retreats to d6, and at this point Mark Riddell, with his book on the Phoenix variation, recommends bishop to b2, which is an excellent move, but my personal preference is the advanced variation. Your right plays b5, immediately chasing away the knight. So the knight has to choose a square to move to. After b5 he can either choose b8, the retreating move, which is almost never played, e7, which is a move preferred by some computer engines like GNU Chess, d4, or b4 can't be played, a5 is preferred by engines like Rutka and most other engines, and all human opponents I've played against prefer e5, which looks the most natural development. So at this point black is definitely out of book, and e5 looks like the most logical choice. Already attacking the bishop on d3, so white takes and black recaptures, and already black is seeing that white has some issues with his pawn development, so it looks like white has a backward pawn on c3 and an overextended pawn on b5. So there's little choice for white. He has to defend the pawn because there's a pin on the rook, so bishop goes to b2. And then we have several different variations. Now the most common variations for black are to develop his queen either to c7 or a5, with the idea to apply more pressure on the pawn. Queen to c7 also creates a battery on the h2 pawn, so when one is out of book and one sees overextended or backward pawns, it's typical strategy is to develop in order to attack those pawns. But it doesn't work, because if queen c7 attacking the pawn on c3 and h2, then white can simply play pawn to f4, temporarily ignoring the threat on the backward c3 pawn. And now black has to make a choice, either to retreat with the bishop or attack the c3 pawn. But taking the c3 pawn is actually a trap, and in this system there are a lot of tactics with backward pawns that are set up to be traps. So let's just see what happens if black develops or retreats his bishop first, just to give you an idea. So bishop d6, then c4, and already we can see white has nice attacking diagonals for both his bishop and the queen. Even a rook lift is possible in some instances. And if black plays an inaccurate move like say a6, just to give you an example, then bishop takes knight, pawn takes bishop, queen g4 check, king h8, queen h4 threatening mate with the help of the bishop, f4 to block, the queen f6 check, again forced king to f8, and then a rook lift with a winning attack and piece advantage for white. So that's just to show you what happens if black decides to retreat, and what the idea is for white after he does so. But typically black develops his pieces in this way in order to take what seems a free pawn. So if bishop takes, then we have a simple trap with rook to c1 with a pin on the queen, and it doesn't seem the bishop is trapped yet, because most people try to play d4, which does two things. It protects the bishop and gives a square for the knight to develop in order to protect the bishop. But after pawn takes, there are two options for black, so he's going to lose the piece anyway. So if knight d5, in order to protect the bishop, white can capture and black recaptures, and a simple battery is enough to gain a minor piece. So developing a knight doesn't work. The second try for black, instead of playing knight d5, is bishop takes pawn with check, hoping to escape with tempo and then flee with the queen. But that doesn't work because of bishop takes bishop with an attack on the queen. So white has gained a minor piece, but with queen d7 it looks like black can immediately capture one of those bishops back. But now white can play bishop takes knight, and again there are two possibilities. If queen takes bishop, then we have queen g4 threatening mate, g6 or queen g6, and then we have ideas like mate on g7. Anyway, white's pieces are safe and he's one minor piece up. But if instead black takes the bishop, pawn takes bishop, still with an attack on the bishop on d3, white can play a bishop sacrifice on h7, check. If king retakes, queen h5 check, king g7, queen g4 check to push the bishop back to the h-file, king h7, and then a rook lift with a forced mate. So there's no real way for black to get a compensation for his lost piece.